Happy Halloween from the Witches Movie Coven. This is where we should cackle. No. And joyous Samhain to all of you out there. Happy Samhain, Halloween. Let's talk movies, shall we? Thank you guys all for coming in. Jump in that chat room. Get your goat, get a drink, get your other goat, get a hat, get a costume, get some dark glasses on, because we're going to talk about Hellbender. I'm Patti. I'm your host, Patti Negri. You might know me from Ghost Adventures or from The Witching Hour, my regular podcast, or from all sorts of things, University Magicas, Paraflix. But let me have my beautiful co-hosts introduce themselves, starting out with the mysterious Heather Greene.
Oh, that's me. Hi, I am Heather Greene. I am an author of Lights, Camera, Witchcraft. It is the critical history of witches and witchcraft in American cinema and television. I am also an editor at Llewellyn and a journalist covering all things occult and witchy. And I'm happy to be celebrating Halloween yet again with this wonderful coven.
Yeah, thank you. Yes. And the beautiful, with beautiful bangs, Courtney Buckley.
That's me. I'm Courtney Buckley, ghost bait on Scared and Alone. Love being a member of the Witches Movie Coven. I came dressed today as someone who likes all the movies that we watch. So I figured you wouldn't recognize me and I might as well, explain myself. I'm in disguise. I can't wait to get into this tonight with all of you. Happy Halloween.
Thank you very much. Now, it's hard to tell who he is, but you could tell by the mustache. Mr. Richard-Lael.
Hi, I'll take that off so you can see me. I am Richard-Lael. Richard-Lael is one name, not two. If I were Richard, I'd be eight. I am known as the Gentleman Psychic. I am a clairvoyant. You may have seen me also on Ghost Adventures or at University Magicus, and also here in New Orleans, where I read tarot in my home, and I do seances here in my home, as well as down in the French Quarter at Apothecary. So I'm a little bit of everywhere.
Thank you so much. And last and never, ever least, and you can't hide because of your beautiful golden locks,
Mr. This Jason. Thing is so uncomfortable. I'm done. So I'm Jason Mankey, author of 10 witchcraft books, including High Priest, The Life of Raymond Buckland, out in May. I feel like I just have to talk about all that time because he haunts me, and this is the time to be haunted at Samhain/Halloween.
Indeed it is. So this week's movie is Hellbender. Hellbender. It's been hours since I just finished watching it. But in case anybody did not see it, Richard-Lael, do you have an unbiased synopsis of this fine film?
And how? An unbiased synopsis. How do I begin? Okay, the plot line is there's a middle-aged woman, and you find out she's actually closer to 150 than 40. That's at the end, but there's a middle-aged woman raising her daughter alone in the woods in the Catskill Mountains of New York. She has told her daughter that she cannot go near people because she is sick. Luck has it that they also play in a rock band, and there are numerous musical interludes. Numerous musical interludes. Mm-hmm. Nonetheless, strange things start happening. You find out that the woman does possess some amount of power. You don't know exactly what it may be. You see her breaking off a piece of her hair and tying it on twigs. And then, of course, it gets a little bit more magic with the blood that comes out of her mouth. And okay, fine. The young girl is met in the woods one day by a man who is lost. His niece lives on the other side of the mountain. The mother, understanding that there was some sort of danger, meets them in the woods, and she tells the little girl to go home, and she walks off with the older fellow, the gentleman, and it is implied that something nefarious has happened. Well, in the interim, the girl ends up by going across the mountain to meet the niece of the man who disappeared. And As it turns out, she's out swimming in a pool. They make up a friendship. Things start going really great. She gets a bikini from her. The man shows up that owns the house. Apparently, the girls were not supposed to be there. Musical break, musical break, musical break. The girls are not supposed to be there. They're chased out. She's eaten a worm. And because she's eaten a worm, she goes psychotic. I mean, I get it. If I were to eat a worm, I'd be psychotic too. But then you find out that the reason that mother was keeping her away and keeping her a vegan is because apparently she's somehow a witch and a demon combined. And somehow, I guess, when you do any kind of life with fear, you automatically spring forth as this bloodthirsty demon who kills people for sport. And then you eat your own mother. And then after you eat your own mother, I guess you regenerate with a new demon spawn, I guess. But nonetheless, she ends up by sort of kidnapping her friend. The mother goes to save her so that she can save her from this life of chaos. And then the roles are reversed. She says, I'm not going to eat you because I love you. By the way, do you want anything from town? The mom, in her sort of fear as being the Hellbender, she asks for bass strings. Roll credits. That is literally the entire film with only a few more music interludes.
Thank you very much. Again, clear as always. Thank you, Richard-Lael. Now, Heather, do you have perhaps more or 5 things we do need to know about this film?
Yeah, there's some interesting things about this independent film that I'm going to share. Some context and data. Number 2, family affair. We're going to talk about the cast and the crew. And then I'll talk about some interesting behind the scenes things. And then the themes. We'll go to that. So there will be 5 things. But I can't read my handwriting for some reason. So first, starting out with context, this is an independent film. It had a tiny budget, and it was released in 2021. It is coming out, of course, in the pandemic. It was filmed during the pandemic itself by its cast and crew. And it is obviously coming out during a period of time, sort of at the end of this sort of, there's a lot of witch movies that have happened, and a lot of the witch movies that have been coming out over the last 3, 4, 5 years have been very feminist focused, very focused on women's empowerment or disempowerment in ways that movies have not been in the past. They're darker and often aggressive in the way they address these kind of things. And I'm using aggressive not in a bad way necessarily, just in the forcefulness of the way they're approaching these themes. We've seen that. We looked at She Will. We looked at Gretel and Hansel. We see it in Agatha, which is just happening. We see these really heavy themes going on. And that's where this film fits into all of that that's happening. Number 2, let's talk about the cast and crew. So this is the really interesting thing. And I'm adding crew here because the cast and crew are pretty much the same. This was created by the Adams family and not the Adams family that Richard-Lael loves. This is
the 1D Adams.
The 1D Adams family.
Those Bostonian Adams.
So yes, a very different Adams family. Both director, and it was written, directed, and starred by John Adams, the father of the family, Tobey Poser, who is the mom and the mother in this film, and their 2 children, Lulu and Zelda. Both were in this film. Zelda was the main character. Lulu was the friend. So they filmed it in this. They filmed this in the and I'm blending my 2 and 3 here. They filmed this in the Catskills during COVID when they were locked down, and they would share whoever was whoever wasn't starring in the scene would do some of the background filming stuff. This is what they do. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. But you may know most of these guys you won't know from somewhere else. But Tobey Poser is a veteran of Guiding Light. Was on Guiding Light if you ever watched that. And starred in some TV shows, or didn't star, but appeared in some TV shows like Sex and the City and Law and Order, and a couple of the Law and Order. So, but Toby's been around for a while. John Adams was in the 90s was a model and is an artist and still has a site up, and you can go look at both of those sites of his work. Of course, their two children, they went ahead and they star and work with them. Now, the interesting thing about them also is they've done a number of movies, and this is going to the family affair notes. They've done, I think, 6 or 7. And the most recent one's called, let's see, Where the Devil Roams is the most recent one. I think they're working on another one, which if you go to their social media, you can kind of see what they're up to. There's The Deeper You Dig, The Hatred, and a number of other independent films they've done over the years. You can go see those. This one, I think, is the first one that got this amount of attention. And now this Where the Devil Roams is getting attention as well. The other interesting thing about them, and they star and do all this stuff. So you see the same actors and actresses floating in between. The other thing that's interesting about this film and the family is that this particular film started with a band. They created a band. I know Richard-Lael mentioned all the musical interludes. The family actually has a band called Hellbender. The E's are 6s. Okay, so you can go ahead and look up Hellbender, the band, with the 6s for the E's, and that's them as well. And they all sing, and they have videos, and you can go listen to all of that. And that's how this sort of came into play. And I pulled a quote from an interview with them, and they said, let me see if I can find it. They were wondering after they had this band, like what a Hellbender was, and they realized it was something very witchy. So of course that led them down this other path and started to make, we've got a movie here. So that's sort of how that happened. They didn't want to go full on devil with this one, but that's their next film that they said. So that was the movie that came out in 2023. So that's a little bit about the context, about the family and behind the scenes stuff. So let's talk about some of the themes in this. First of all, I wanted to mention that this feels very much like a story of Rapunzel, where the mother is locking up. It's a folk horror film in the senses that it's grounded in nature. It's centered around a culture and an experience of a family. It's got all of that stuff that you see in folk. This is very dark. It has it has that Rapunzel sort of fairy tale feel almost, right? But what's interesting is the magic in it, and they talk a lot about the magic and creating the magic. And I loved reading what they said about it. The themes of the theme of sacrifice and a mother's sacrifice. The theme of having to, one of the things they talked about, the cycle of birth and death, but not having to actually. They talked about. Well, let me see what they said. The cycle of birth and death, and the rebirth from all the decay around us. And so they really were trying to bring these sort of very esoteric themes into it when they were doing it. And they were also talking about the magic and creating the magic, which I thought would be interesting to everybody. They said, well, when they were trying to get down to the simplest forms, if you have the power to climb a tree, you need to have sticky hands. So what would you mix? You'd mix spider webs and ivy that clings to trees. So that's how they created all the magic. They were trying to putting this logic together. When you can smell something in the wind, you've got to have mushrooms. You've got mushrooms which have spores, self-reproducing like the Hellbenders, and they float in the wind. So they created all this stuff based on sort of these connections that they made with nature, and put them together to create the spells themselves. They don't claim to be witches; they just claim to be doing this. I thought that was pretty interesting, their whole entire idea was this bent around nature, and they wanted to bring the witchcraft to be not this fairy tale stuff. They wanted to make it very grounded in nature, in the land that they were there, and everything about it had to be grounded in the land. So I thought that was pretty interesting. They talk about it in several interviews. So that's really what there isn't a whole lot. There wasn't a big crew. They aren't around for very long. And I think the most interesting thing about this is was it created by a family that are still creating films together. So I think that's fascinating. That's all I got for you today.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay. Does anybody specifically want to go first? Volunteer? Courtney.
Yay.
Okay. So I did not know that this was a family until I was at the very end of watching this movie, which, like Patti, was a couple hours ago. I started the movie, and I believe it was within 10 minutes. I sent Richard-Lael a message, and I said something along the lines of, like, I am so uncomfortable by this dynamic between the mother and daughter, because immediately it sent up red flags for me that it was not an appropriate relationship. Like, it was uncomfortable to look at. And I did not know that they were actual mother and daughter. Watching this movie, I think for a COVID movie with a very small production, whatever, they did a lot. Like, I enjoyed the concept of what a Hellbender is. But as far as like it was painful to watch these people act, because they had no chemistry whatsoever. And Richard-Lael, as I was at the end of it, responded to my message and was like, they're actually related. And I was like, you're lying to me. You're actually lying to me, because there's no way. They have no chemistry whatsoever. It feels like everything felt forced to me. And like, the songs, the musical interlude, like, who are you? And you're painting your face, and then you're playing in this rock band where in a closet. Like, I don't understand what's happening or why it's happening. And like, there was so much. It was so much for no reason. And yeah, so I feel like I'm maybe about to become a Hellbender, because I was forced into knowing what a Hellbender was this week. There you have it.
Thank you very much. Okay. I liked it, which I often do. I actually disagree with you about the mother-daughter relationship. I'm not saying they're the world's best actors or anything, but I felt the tension before them. I felt that 150-year-old mother, 17-year-old daughter kind of thing. I liked the earthiness that Heather was mentioning, dirty fingernails, and just the visceralness of everything to me. And I knew it was a family. I think Rob told us. I knew it was a family and they're independent and figured really low budget. And I thought they kicked butt with it. The band didn't bother me. And I knew that was just thrown in because I think the real band in the movie would have just the mother and the daughter. Nobody else is there. But they would show the family because the best of family get there. I thought it was original and different. It didn't take away from the movie to me. I liked the arcs of both characters going around. And the scenery and just the dirtiness and earthiness of it, I thought was great. That's all I have to say.
I do love the Catskills. I love the Catskill Mountains. I love New York. I don't have anything nice to say yet.
I have nice things to say. I thought the mother-daughter dynamic was helped by the tension. I know. It's one of those nights, Buckley. I thought it was helped by the tension because that was the point of the story. And to me, it was very palpable while I was watching the film. It was something that just sort of sat over every scene in the movie. They're friends, their mother and daughter, and yet at the same time, they're not necessarily enemies, but there's an antagonism there. And I thought they played it up pretty brilliantly. For a very small production, I thought the movie looked good. I think we've seen bigger productions look bad on this show in some of the films that we're looking at. I mean, it certainly wasn't the Killing Tree by any means, but it still looked good. Still looked good. And this is something that really occurred to me while I was watching the movie. So we have the daughter. She meets a friend, right? That's the niece of the guy who's murdered pretty early in the movie. And I like that the kids all got along. There wasn't bullying. Usually in these movies, like we watched Carrie, and this kind of reminds me of Carrie in some way. Carrie's bullied. And this time, this very awkward girl who's been homeschooled, who's never really talked to other people, the other kids are pretty nice to her, all things considered. And I really liked that because I think that's really how kids act.
But it helps. I didn't mean to interrupt, but it helps them to not bully her that she is in a rock band.
For sure.
I think that kids think that's neato, cools.
Is that what the youths are calling it now?
I don't know what the youths are calling it, but I have an inkling that the youths would like that she bangs drums loudly and wouldn't be like me and say, "Hey, get off of my lawn." I would so totally be. I would be the man who gets eaten when he comes home to find these kids in his pool, because I would be that man. I would so be that man.
I don't know. I just thought she was groovy and the other kids were down with it. You know what I'm saying? Hey.
I would also like to clarify that while later it changed for me and I saw the relationship for what it was, the mother-daughter dynamic that I'm talking about that made me uncomfortable was that first scene when she gets out of the car with the box and they're like snuggled on the porch. And it didn't give, like, to me at least, and I don't know if this is just life and my trauma, but it wasn't like, oh, mom's home and I missed you and I'm going to hug you and I'm going to whatever. It was like weird touching that like made me uncomfortable to look at. It felt like they were not mother and daughter, that they were
a couple of lesbians in the Adirondacks and not the Catskills.
Correct. Like there,
but I think it was supposed to do that though, because the mother is so broken and lives this solitary life. All she has is her daughter. Her whole life is wrapped up in her daughter, and that is why the relationship is not healthy.
But it wasn't even her
going on.
It wasn't even her that was giving that. It was the daughter. Like it was like, I don't know. And it was just this one scene, but it set the stage for me to make it uncomfortable. It was the daughter, the way the daughter touched the mother. And it was like, it just gave me the ick immediately. That's literally the first thing I wrote down in my notes was the mother and daughter are giving me the ick together right now because this feels abusive almost, but not in like the trope of this movie way.
Mm-hmm.
Mama, ooh.
Yeah.
She was stroking her face. Like it was weird. I don't know. I didn't like it.
It didn't feel sexual to me or anything like
it
that.
Did to me. It really did to me. Yeah.
I didn't get that. I didn't get that either. I felt it felt very claustrophobic and confusing, and it was difficult. I don't mean it's difficult to watch, like because I had to close my eyes because there was blood and all that stuff. I mean difficult to watch because you don't know really what the dynamic is. You don't know why she's being, mother Gothel, and locking this girl in the tower. It's that what is going on? What's really wrong with this girl? And it becomes very claustrophobic, even the way they filmed it and everything around. And it's like, what? I want to break out of this. And then, obviously in Rapunzel, I keep going back to that. She meets a boy, which is what makes her want to see the outside world. This is not the case here. It's the friends. And Rapunzel obviously finds the fairy tale ending and gets out and goes down her hair, let me down my hair. And this one obviously turns into the demon witch, a hellbender, but finds her power, which to me, I love watching these films because I'm looking at it from the film, the witchcraft representation angle. And I'm seeing it. I'm fascinated by these dark, deep empowerment stories that we see now that I mentioned earlier. And in like the power of the women witches that came back were all grounded in dirt and mud. And you see that again here. And it's so fascinating that when they capture that intense power, that's linking, women to witchcraft, and power or empowerment. Witchcraft can be just an allegory, but empowerment and stuff. I think that's super fascinating when they can do it, and horror does it in such an interesting way, I think. So I was fascinated with this film. I was absolutely fascinated with it. And I also am fascinated with the whole mother-daughter dynamic, because it's such a fairy tale trope, a narrative trope of the conflict between a mother and a daughter. I mean, you think about Snow White. Snow White can't be free until the mother's dead. There's this trend in Western literature to one-off mothers, that mothers can't survive for their daughters to thrive as they are in their full empowerment. Mother must die. It's Carrie. It's a story of Carrie too, just like Jason brought up. It's another narrative trope that we see over and over. So for me, this totally just my brain, just my film nerd analytical brain just went, oh wow, this is super cool. So that's where I was with it.
I'll admit that when I watch these movies, though, I just think, I hope Heather and her daughter have a great relationship. I mean, I'm always just kind of worried about Heather there in the background.
I may have to die for her to realize her power. She actually called me what'd she call her? My emotional support mommy the other day. So I think I'm safe right now.
That's adorable.
That's cute. I want to say I did like the witchcraft, how they did the witchcraft, and how the sticky and all that. I didn't think they were witches or anything like that. I loved it, and I just love the gritty prettiness, like how they showed a plate of food was a piece of art. The pine cones and the berries and the horrible stuff and the thing to eat. I just visually, I was completely attracted by everything in it, from the weird bloody berry running down to when they got scary and stuff. It was art.
Mm-hmm. I will wholeheartedly agree with that. There was a lot cinematography. I can't say words. There was a lot of the cinematography that I loved because it was beautiful and it was interesting, and I did love the witchcraft, and I loved all the blood in the witchcraft because that's awesome and badass. And I love the demon witch aspect of it. And if it was like, who else would watch this movie and be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna overthrow the whoever's in charge of me, and then go bad and be evil and be a demon witch, and then and appreciate it like I would. I loved it. I loved that part. But it was like, just everything else kind of ruined it.
There's a lot of ruined it for me. I didn't like the blood. I never liked blood. I thought it was repulsive, the way that they kept vomiting in each other's mouths. Like that was, it was like, ugh, mama bird, baby bird. I could not function with that one. Also, this is one of the slowest paced films I have ever seen. It was so slow, and I tried to pay attention. And I'm telling you, at the 30-minute mark, I was about to do some witchcraft myself because it was long. Anyway, what was that?
I was going to say, you didn't have to sit through some of the foreign films that I sat through in film school. This was a speed demon of a film compared to some of those films.
I was thinking how much I appreciated the brevity of this film. It's only 80 minutes long. So when you're watching it, you don't think, gosh, I'm going to be stuck here forever. It's going to be over pretty soon.
Really, because I talked before about how I checked the bar, right? And like whatever movie we were watching, I didn't check the bar till way later. I checked the bar. I don't even think I was a full 5 minutes in, and I was like, I have to be halfway done, right? Like, this has to be it.
Did you watch the Hellbender 2022 movie, or did you watch the Hellbender 1988 movie? Because I think some of you are watching a different film than what I saw.
No, we watched the new one.
Yep.
That's so funny.
I have to say, the women playing, I don't like heavy metal. For heavy metal, they were talented. I don't like heavy metal. But I guess it would have been an entirely different film if they sang and played classical music. I think it probably wouldn't have the same feeling. If it, the mom played the violin and the daughter sang Rigoletto or something.
I feel like that would have been better.
Yeah, I think that would be actually really cool. You could do some really interesting things with. I did a play, The Children's Hour by Lillian Hellman. I don't know if you guys know that play, but it's a drama. But we had the kids sing one of the little kid Ring Around the Rosie songs, one of the kids' songs, but we slowed it down really, really slow. And they went fast and got really, really slow with it. And we put like a music to it in the background that had almost a minor key. And it was so creepy and it was so good. So it might actually work. You take a little classical music of this, it would change it, but it might work.
The violin alone is creepy.
You did convince me. Maybe it would have been better. And like I said, they were very talented, but I don't like heavy metal. I don't like even like the Norwegian heavy metal as much as I like the
evil.
Yeah, that is. I don't like it. It's just not for me. It's my weird ADHD brain, and I just don't like it.
You did mind it.
I did mind it. I did mind it a lot, actually. I did mind it. I really did mind it.
I didn't even really think it was heavy metal. It was just sort of
I didn't either. I didn't think it was that heavy of metal.
Yeah.
No.
She was the girl wears corpse paint at the beginning while she's playing drums, which is something that you find in like black metal in Scandinavia, but it didn't really fit because the music wasn't that heavy, really. I mean, it wasn't like pop by any standard, but it really wasn't that heavy. It reminded me really of early White Stripes, sort of, minus guitar, just was music. It felt like the kind of music that you could make in a lonely house in the Catskills with just two people. That's what it felt like.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
And she says she plays in a band. She tells this other girl, who's, by the way, in real life, her sister. She tells this other girl, I play in a band. We're Hellbenders. I play in a band. You don't play in a band. You bang some drums and your mom strums a guitar. That's not a band. That's not a band.
I agree with that. I think that is a big step to say, hey, I'm in a band. It's more like, hey, I think we put up some YouTube videos that have been watched by 12 or 15 people. I think that would have been much more realistic.
No, that's what a kid would do. I'm in a band. You're trying to impress. You don't know people. You're meeting people excited for the first time. You think you have one thing you think might be cool I would say I'm in a band, even if it's just me and my mom.
Well, what if they found out that it was you and your mom? Then the teasing would be relentless.
I'd eat them.
Well, there you go.
Well, she wouldn't have known if her mom told her that it was a band. How is she going to know it's not a band? She
listens to records,
right?
Yeah,
but she doesn't know.
She listens to records, and it's like
she has exposure.
So I grew up, as you know, religious. And my mother played the piano and sang, and my father sang, and my mother played the guitar, and she sang, and my mother could do all kinds of musical things because she was multi-talented, and my father sang, and then my sisters sang, and my brother sang, and they were sort of like the Partridge Family a long time ago. So I could say, oh, they're in a band. My mom and dad are a band, but the difference that it's not the same. It's not the same. A band is not. It's not singing once a week in a garage with my mom.
I'm pretty sure it was a closet.
Maybe it was a closet.
And I think they do it almost every day.
Oh,
And I've seen showcases here in Hollywood where I live. I was just at one less than 2 weeks ago, kind of downtown. It was a showcase for new bands. They were almost all to tracks. They had one guy with his guitar and one other person singing. They called themselves a band.
A Band-Aid, maybe.
Well, you can go to it's right there on the screen here. The Hellbender with the 666 is actually, you can go listen to them. You can even pay for their songs on like Bandcamp, and you can go listen to some of their songs on their website. The actual the name of their production company is called Wonder Wheel Productions. And if you go there, there's going to be links to their that band Hellbender, as well as some other band names, because they've also had several other band names. One of them, I think, Christmas. I can't remember the name of the other bands, but you can go back, and the dad, John Adams, has been in a band of one kind or another.
A real band?
A rubber band?
A rubber band, a peanut stand. I don't know, all the things. Since like a long time ago, since high school, he's been doing this band thing. So you can see
that was a marching band in high school. Well, it's different. It's a different kind of band.
That's a band too. That's a different.
It is a band, but it's a different kind of band.
But he did the other band, the one before Hellbender, is also with the kids. So you can see some of their videos. They do very haunting videos with it, similar to what you see in this movie. So it's kind of interesting to go back and watch it. Courtney's not convinced.
Yeah,
I thought you were rushing out to buy the T-shirt and ticket to the show.
You can stream it. You can stream it on Spotify and Apple Music too. And I watched the movie yesterday, and I've actually been streaming all the songs today. I liked it. I thought the music was pretty good in places.
I did too.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Blah blah blah.
I don't think it was all that bad either. And I'm not a big metal fan, but yeah, I didn't think the music was all that bad.
It wasn't all that good either.
I feel like the lyrics sounded like something that my angsty teenage self, when I was scorned, would write in my diary. And
they were written by the teenage girls who were probably angsty.
I know. Right. So great for the movie, but I think calling the music good is that rubber band is stretching to its limit. So
Hey, I listen to a lot of things. I know that not all of it is good. I just listen to a lot of things, and I liked this. I thought some of it was fun. I'm going to add it to some of my, doom metal, mixes that aren't necessarily all really metal anyways. Because I don't know, it has a cool vibe to it. It's a cool vibe. It's songs about hell, What more do you want?
Maybe
anything else?
Maybe
not really. I couldn't really tell.
And the movie. Maybe we'll vote on the music on our wands. Well, this is great. No one's really commenting on the movie. Did anybody else watch it in our chat room? Let us know. So do you have any quotes on this film, Miss?
Yeah, let's talk about that, because this was also the world's most unquotable movie, but I do.
I feel like you've said that before about another movie, but I don't know.
I did, and it was also the world's most unquotable movie. That one was too. I forget which one it was, but one thing I will say, one part that I did actually like, and I'm gonna get this wrong because I didn't write it down, but when at the end, when they were in her happy place, which is the dark cave of whatever it was, and she's antagonizing her mother into showing her true colors, and she's like, I forget what she says exactly, but she's like, come on, show me the Hellbender or whatever, and her mother's face does the weird thing and it changes and then it comes back and one eye is rolling back. I did actually like that. I thought that was kind of cool. And then it cuts to the daughter, and the daughter goes, oh, there you are. And that was pretty cool. I like that. But the quote that I wrote down was the song lyrics that she approached her mother with and said, oh, I wrote a new song. There was a wolf who longed to be a sheep, so she cut her claws and cracked her teeth. She buried deep the wolf beneath, and when she bore a cub, she raised it as a lamb. She cut its claws and cracked its teeth. She buried deep the wolf beneath, but when the lamb grew, so did her claws, so did her teeth, and the wolf ate her mother, who was just a sheep. And she just delivers that, looking her dead in the eyes, and it was oh, oh. So that's my quote.
There's an interesting thing about that in the interview. He talks about John and Tobey talk about that, how when they do interviews, nobody ever mentions that poem. No, and that's one of their most favorite parts of this movie.
Oh, it's fantastic. Like, I
Mhm.
was watching that part and I was like, yeah, like that would have saved this movie alone for me. Also, spring eats winter, winter eats fall, fall eats summer, summer eats spring. They say that a few times in the movie.
Yeah.
And every time they did, I was like, yeah, this is pretty cool. I found some of the dialogue really great. There's not a ton of dialogue in the movie because it's short and they're often just playing band together, you know, but when they did want to make a point, I thought they really made it.
Yep.
I know Courtney's gonna put her sunglasses on again.
I know. We're all going like that.
Listen, everyone has opinions. It's fine.
I feel like I had preemptive light off just to fight.
Okay. Well, have we said every? No. Jason.
Oh yeah.
Jason.
All right.
Mankey.
You gonna make fun of this one?
Of course. It's easy to make fun of everything. I have always dreamed of being an almighty, super powerful witch, and now, thanks to Hellbender, I know how to accomplish just that. All of these years, I've simply been doing it wrong, but now, due to the lessons of Hellbender, I can be the witch I've always wanted to be, and you can too. Step 1, form a rock band with your mom. Nothing screams metal and goth more than putting together a band with your mom. And playing with your mom guarantees you'll become a better musician, because if you mess anything up, you'll be grounded. If your parents were anything like mine growing up, you already know they are super cool. I remember looking at my dad sitting on his lazy boy recliner and thinking to myself, dude is ready to rock out. And with my stepmom back in the day, I'd watch her work on her fake nails and think, those are the nails that are gonna bring down the devil on the bass guitar. Rock out. Step 2, eat live things. Got a big spell you absolutely must have come to fruition? Then it's time to get out the maggots and head to Chowtown. Maggots are born in death. Eat death, turn into flies and fly away from death, and then come back to death. So much death. And this is death you can eat. Want to make those maggots even tastier? Serve them with a side of live worm. That wiggle in your stomach tells you that you've swallowed a live worm. Yum. Feel the magic flow through you. No magic to do? Don't worry. You can just eat bugs to get high. Grab a bag of fresh crickets, find your mom to hang out with, and you've got the making of a perfect afternoon. Trips are the absolute best when your mom is there to remind you to make your bed and do your homework. Step 3, find a psychedelic book. Find the right book. Touch it, and the secrets of the universe will be revealed. Psychedelic, touch the book. Touch the book. Lasers spin around. This is real witchcraft. Hellraiser. Touch it. Touch my warm book, and you will see everything. So mote that crap be. Child of Satan, touch the book. Touch the book, the book. And that's all it takes to become the most powerful witch on your block, or at least in your coven. Hang with mom, eat your only friend piece by piece, and touch the book.
Special effects and everything.
Touch my warm book.
I had to look up all of those things because I wanted to, have the effects go while I was doing that. Because in the movie, there's like these little psychedelic freakouts every time the daughter touches the book.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Now my throat hurts. Thanks.
Oh,
beautiful and special effects. Okay.
Touch the book.
The production value of this podcast has just skyrocketed because of that.
All right. We said everything there is to say on this moment on the fine Hellbender. I guess we have one more thing to do, and that we don't just want to vote on the movie, or do we want to vote on the movie and the music?
Both. I think we should vote on
both. My votes are the same, so.
Both?
My
Okay.
vote's the same.
Okay. I'm calling it because I can. We're gonna vote on not the movie, just the music of Hellbender, whatever you want to call it. Up.
It disappeared.
3 ups, 2 downs. We win. Okay, anybody else out there? Are you going to vote with us? Colin, Alicia, touch the book. Oh, you are going to give Robert some bad dreams now. Okay, so music, I think the ups kind of win a little bit, at least within House of the Coven. Now,
Yeah.
official vote of the movie itself. Wands up, wands down. Up. It's
wands in hell.
Okay, 3 up, 2 so down. There is nothing midway on this film. No halfways, half flaccid, up and down. We got nothing. It is up or down. Everybody out there, Robert, wands down music. Mary Jane did not.
Oh, Mary Jane.
Wands up for Colin. Without the movie, would not have gotten to touch up.
We got Robert Hicks has a wands neutral. There's the middle ground one.
We have we have our wands ground. Okay, so do we know what we have next week? I knew an hour ago. Poltergeist.
The original.
The Poltergeist original. So we've got, it's perfect for Halloween season. So do we want to talk about Halloween at all, or Samhain?
Yes,
we have all sorts of fun things to talk about.
What's everyone done for Samhain season, or what are they going to do for Samhain?
I am going to say my first thing before I go into 4 days of Vampire Land, I am doing a ritual with Bloody Mary in New Orleans tomorrow at 5 p.m. Free for everybody. We're going to mix her voodoo practice and my witchcraft practice. We're going to have all sorts of fun things, lifting of the veil, blessings of animals. Bring your animals down to Bloody Mary's shop. So that's at 5 o'clock Central tomorrow live. And then we have 4 days of vampire events, each one getting bigger than the other. And I can't wait to see Richard-Lael. And then with another group that I work with, we are actually doing Samhain a few days late when I get back in town. So I'm just celebrating from starting right now. Who else?
I'm surviving. So that feels like a celebration because it's October, and October is a lot every time, even though it's my favorite time of the year. But actually November becomes my favorite time of the year because October is so stressful, and you know, spooky isn't a season, it's a lifestyle. So I stretch that out all year. But November when it's quiet. So I'm very much looking forward to it being the clock's going back, it being dark early. This is my time of year.
Thank you.
I will go next. So yes. It's a busy season for me, obviously. Tomorrow I have the Queen's Ball, and then I am going to one of the mansions, and I can't remember which one it is on Halloween. I'll be doing some readings, and then of course there is the Vampire Ball. So that's a busy one, but my major thing is I'm really looking forward to next July when we go to Scotland. So if you are wanting to go to Scotland, if you've always wanted to go to Scotland, if you've always wanted to go on to some ghost tours, it's not Halloween, but the veil is always thin in Scotland. So if you would like to come to Scotland, meet me. We'll stay in some 5-star places. You can use that QR code that was right over there.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Jason.
Friday is my Coven Samhain ritual, which will be my third Samhain ritual so far this season, as I did one in Vegas and I did one in Cedar Rapids, Iowa this past weekend with Ivo Dominguez Jr. and James Devine, who are also like really fabulous witch people that are worth looking up. But I always wonder, like, how does this ritual go over when I'm leading a ritual for Samhain? And if people cry, I feel like I've done my job. Not because the ritual was so bad that they cried, but because, you know, you get out your emotions because you miss people. And so far, I'm 2 for 2. So hopefully we'll be 3 for 3. And you really can feel that veil thin this time of year. As Courtney said, this is the best time of year. My wife and I put pajamas on at 4:45 today because we were like, yeah, I got the Spider-Man pajamas on right now. Woo! Because we were home together for the first time in like weeks, and we just want to cuddle on the couch because it's cool and it's dark, you know?
Oh, that's beautiful. Heather.
Well, we love spooky season around here too. It gets real busy for me doing, aside from doing my everyday witch which tomorrow is the last one. So tune in to find who the last person is. I'll tell you right now, all of you guys, I haven't chosen yet. But it is just like every witch a busy month, and I'm always like Courtney, ready for November as well, because I love moving into the Thanksgiving season. It's one of my favorite times. I love November, honestly. But for Samhain, we do we're having a Halloween. We always like to celebrate Halloween as Halloween, and so tomorrow we're going to have a bunch of 17-year-olds, and we're doing an outdoor horror movie on our outdoor screen. And we'll have pizza, and we don't know exactly which horror movie it's going to be, but we've done our own family horror fest over the last 5 days. It's been night after night of picking different horror movies. So so our dreams have been kind of wacky, and there's so you watch too many horror movies, you start to have wacky dreams. But we've had fun celebrating, and then we'll do Samhain with the family this weekend, and my daughter will be starting her beginning witch lessons, which she's decided she wants to start learning formally. So we'll start some witch lessons right after Samhain. I told her as the new year comes back, we're going to start that. So we've got some stuff going on for Samhain. We always celebrate big over here, but with the family. And then I'm getting ready to do Conjuration, which is a pop culture festival that's going to be in Duluth, Georgia on I think it's, let me check the dates, the 15th through the 17th. And I'm going to be on a few panels and talking about which movies and
what movies?
Which movies? Which movies?
Who's on first?
Who's on second? I don't know what's on fourth. Home.
I just want you to be careful when you teach your daughter witchcraft, because we've seen the consequences of such things in the films that we've watched.
Mm-hmm.
It is. I'm gonna keep her away from those 3 things that you suggested. We actually have already done the ban part, so we're kind of in trouble there. But she hasn't eaten maggots yet.
That you know of? Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure, but she does like bugs. So,
what was that quote from the Lost Boys? They're noodles. What?
It's been too long. What was that?
I was trying to remember the entire time. So he's in the cave, and he's eating the rice or noodles. I think maybe it's rice. And he looks down, and it's a cup full of maggots. He throws it away, and then the vampire laughs and says, "It's only rice, or it's only noodles." Oh well, never mind. It would have been funnier if I would have just remembered what the saying was.
Okay, it was close. It was close. All right, thank you, and thank you, Heather. I love how we're busy. Yes, I've got only one trip in November, and it's a private one. I'm going to Australia, so they don't have our Thanksgiving, but I will be home by Thanksgiving. I've got a couple holiday things in December. I've got all with the Christmas, and I've got the Spirit of Christmas in Dallas with Paraflix with my partner Natalie, and then I'm doing something else Christmas in Northern California, a little mining town in Jackson, California. So just 2 short sips and two short. I haven't slept much this month either. None of us. I live on planes. I've literally done a seance almost every day since I can remember. So I'm living on the other side of the veil. This side, not so good. But all sorts of fun things coming up as well. So again, check out University Magic. It's Richard-Lael, myself, doing all sorts of fun things. And we still have time. What do we want to talk about?
Well, I have a question for Jason.
Yeah.
I wonder if he ends his final Samhain ritual with Santa Claus on a sleigh coming in. Is that the end of the ritual? Like you close the circle and Santa appears and comes down on a sleigh?
What happens is he closes
be
his
honest.
circle,
Or maybe it isn't.
and then Mariah Carey starts singing.
There it is. That's the one.
I do look forward to that Twitter video every year because it's amazing and it sums up my life in so many ways. November 1st, Mariah emerges from her sleep and the Queen of Christmas is crowned once more, and it is Yule once again. But in fairness, I will wait until after this weekend is done before really doing too much Yuletide stuff. I don't start November 1st. It's just close. It's very close to November 1st.
Any fool to go about with Merry Christmas upon his lips should be buried in his own pudding. No, he should. I can't even talk either. Any fool to go about with Merry Christmas upon his lips should be boiled in his own pudding and buried with a stick of holly through his heart. Humbug, I say. Bah.
Oh, it's the best time of the year. And I was talking to Ari today. Like my wife, we were walking around and she's like, the holidays are very, very busy. And I was like, yes, because the holidays now are October, November, December. Mm-hmm. It's all a giant soup. This is the only time of year, especially in the United States, where people really celebrate anything in a big way, where they decorate their homes and whatever else. I mean, there's no Christmas creep. Halloween is just one part of all of these different interlocking holidays together. So they're all great. But you have to change the colors of lights on here.
Yeah, and I don't think you go from the orange and brown of Halloween into Thanksgiving is great, but you don't go into the red and green of Yule or Christmas, again, same color scheme, until after Thanksgiving. You got to go from the reds and greens after the browns and yellows.
You're me, who has skeletons up on everything all year round, and also a fully decorated colored lights Christmas tree with horror ornaments, but that stays up all year long.
That's efficient. That's efficient.
The lights make me happy to look at. It's like a nightlight. It's my whole Christmas tree. I love it.
For me, I'm just not taking down the lights like 2 times or moving the couch twice. So when the Halloween lights come down, the holiday Yuletide lights go up. And that's just how it is. Because again, I don't want to move the couch a 3rd time. You get 2, and that's all you get.
We do the full changeover. So
when do you go to the reds and greens from the orange and
the weekend after Thanksgiving? We change over. I keep Halloween and the skeletons and everything, and then the day after, Clayton comes out and we set up. And we'll set Clayton up. Well, actually, Clayton was the first year last year, but this will be his 2nd year with us. We drag him out and put him up and give him his map so he knows where he's going. And we decorate, and it takes me about a week because
I just realized I have boots to give my Clayton this year.
But
I didn't use Ben's.
Thanksgiving is so late this year, though. Like you can't wait until Thanksgiving is done. You've missed like a whole week. You've missed a whole week.
That's why just skip Thanksgiving. Just skip it.
No.
Yep. Oh
no.
yeah.
No.
You know what I do on Thanksgiving? I go to the movies. That's my tradition.
On again, Courtney.
Oh, let me bask in the light that's on because I'm leaving it on. And I'm not putting my sunglasses on myself.
But you show your extra spooky candles now, Jason, which is great. Season. It is beautiful. All right. Well, we're almost getting close to that little time. Any other last tidbits of wisdom, confusion? Joy,
I have
metal
a couple
music?
things. Okay. One is I met real life Black Phillip, and we have a picture, and I wanted to share it. I don't know if we. It was very exciting. I went to the Salem Night Fair, which I've been. Oh, look at that!
Ooh,
I signed his.
Beautiful.
Thank you. I signed his book and everything. It was glorious. So that was fun. And then also, I am ringing in my favorite holiday, Halloween, tonight after we get off of here. I will be streaming Phasmophobia on Twitch because we are doing the Blood Moon, or at least I'm doing the Blood Moon Halloween special event. So come over there and scare me and ghost hunt with me. And that'll be probably like 20 minutes after we get off of here.
Awesome.
So it's at the Themes on Twitch.
Oh, next week. We already talked about next week. Never mind. Poltergeist. Never mind.
Yeah,
So-
Poltergeist.
Guys, everybody watch Poltergeist.
Yep.
The original.
And if you guys, anybody's watching Agatha all along, the last 2 episodes aired tonight. Find me on socials and tell me how you liked it. I have a couple articles on witchcraft and Agatha coming out. They were today, yesterday, tomorrow. I haven't seen them yet, but I'd love to hear how everybody's taking Agatha in.
And vote on Tuesday. Vote.
Yes, vote. That's what we should do instead of cackle today.
Vote.
Vote.